So, hi, I'm going to introduce you to Lisa. Some of you already know Lisa. So, Lisa is one of our Ayurveda practitioners that works for the Holistic Highway. And what some of you don't know is Lisa is already a hairdresser. So, that may have had something to do with why I brought her on, because I mean, look, she can absolutely help there. But I'm going to let Lisa sort of introduce herself, because what we're going to talk about today is hair in the coronavirus crisis. So, we're either stay in place or we're shutter in place, or all non-essential businesses have closed. So that means we're not able to get our hair done. And you can see, even with me, it's going shaggy. So, Lisa, what's your background a little bit?
So yes, I have been a hairdresser for more than 40 years. It's hard to believe that, but more than 40 years. I've been a hairdresser, and I've always studied holistic health and nutrition and wellness alongside of hairdressing. And so I have incorporated those two things together into really a holistic hair salon that is based in the wisdom of Ayurveda, which can be applied in every area of your life. So Ayurveda certainly applies to hair and the way that you care for your hair.
Wonderful. So as I said, we're all kind of stuck in place right now. And, as I do a lot of Zoom calls every day, people are showing up wearing, scarves and, saying, oh, I'm sorry, my hair's a mess. And for many of us, we're just going to end up with this shaggy mess, in a month's time. So sometimes roots are coming through on colored hair. I was noticing mine, you can see sort of the gray coming through. Now I want the gray to come through. I don't want to color my hair anymore, but not quite this way. For many people, they're going to take a pair of shears and just sort of go at it themselves. Yeah. So I thought it'd be fun to take sort of a lighter look at what we can do to sort of keep our hair looking good. And what are some of the things that we can do at home? So first off, I guess the first question for most of us is, should I color my hair at home?
Yeah, that's a big one, especially, as you said, when the roots start coming in. It sounds like a good idea to let the gray come in until it starts happening. And then it's a little bit difficult. So some tips there. I mean, of course, my recommendation is no, don't box color your hair if you can avoid it.
And why is that? Why not? Because I'm seeing ads all over Facebook and social media about, this person just match it and it's going to look great. And in the pictures, it looks great. So why not? We're getting kind of desperate. Box hair looks good.
Yeah, for sure. And hair color is quite tricky. And so what you see on the box is not necessarily what it's going to be on your hair. It all depends really on what you're starting with. So if you're used to salon hair color, it's not going to be anywhere near the same what you're going to get out of a box. Just like if you're going to paint a picture, if your canvas is white, then whatever color you put on that white canvas, that's what color you're going to get. But if your canvas has a color on it already and you put a color over top of it, it's not going to be the color that you chose out of the box. It's going to be a different color. It's very difficult to control the undertones, the reds and the ashy. And so you risk a color disaster. And color correction, in most salons is upwards of $250 at least, and many hours.
That's an expensive box color.
Very much so, yes. So I don't recommend box color. However, if you must, at the very least, I would do a semi-permanent color, because semi-permanent is going to be a little easier for your hairdresser to deal with removing or changing when you finally get back to her. So if you must do box color, semi-permanent would be the choice. It may not cover entirely, but it will camouflage and blend your gray, and it might help you through. But some other tips that you can do before you resort to that is some eyeshadow or face powder and a nice powder brush, a big brush. And so you can pull your hair back if it's long enough and wear it in a ponytail, and then just go around the hairline with a brush and some powder that matches close to your hair. And that will camouflage. Of course, it washes right out as soon as you shampoo, but it just hides it for the time being. You can also use mascara. It's another way to do it, depending on the color of your hair. Mascara also along the part. If your hair is shorter, you can wear it more forward towards your face, and that's going to hide some of that hairline gray. Of course, that's where it likes to show up first, front and center. So those are some tips to kind of keep the gray under control until you can get back to your hairdresser.
Okay, so that's some good ideas there. I never thought about using face powder as a way to cover up gray.
Yeah, it works great.
I was thinking about crayons and paint and all kinds of things, but that's a great
idea. There's products out there on the market that are for this specific reason that basically are the same thing. It's just like a powder that you brush on the roots.
Okay.
So I would start there before you get into playing with the chemicals.
Okay. And then how about cutting? I mean, my hair's already getting shaggy, and I was thinking about taking some scissors and just kind of sort of chopping and thinking it can't look worse than it does. But, you know, that's famous last words. And there's been many a time I've wanted to put a bag over my head when I sort of thought, how worse can it be? Or how much worse can it get? So what about cutting our own hair?
So cutting your own hair, again, very, very tricky. I wish I could cut my own hair. If I could just take my own head off and set it in front of me, then I could get the shape. It's very, very difficult to get the proper angle when you're trying to cut behind your own head or on top of your own head. So I don't recommend cutting your own hair because you'll interrupt the shape that your stylist had put in there. A good haircut should give you a good 6 or 8 weeks before you start to lose the shape of it. However, if you have bangs or fringe around the front, of course, it's going to start to get in your eyes and be a little bit annoying. So to cut the fringe is something that you could certainly do at home. You want to be sure you have a really good pair of very sharp shears to do this.
Oh, so my nail scissors won't do?
No, nail scissors not recommended. So hopefully you have a somewhat decent pair of shears in the house that you could use. And so when you're working with the fringe, you're just going to use the very front of the hair, and you can use a comb, or even I have a pen here or a pencil, and you can just lay it there along the curve of the head. And right where the pen touches, that's going to be your point. And then from there, you'll just part down to your temples. That's your bangs. Everything else will get pulled back or clipped with a ponytail, and just leave that fringe.
Yeah.
Then you'll let the hair hang naturally. You don't want to pull the hair down between your fingers and do this, because when you let go, when you let go, the hair is going to pop up.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be shorter than you thought.
Yeah.
So you just want to comb it and let it hang naturally, and then just snip across the bottom as best you can, as straight as you can. You want to be careful that you're not going too far back into the temples. Don't go beyond, say, the edge of the eyebrow.
Okay.
If you start getting into this hair back here, then you're into the rest of the haircut. And again, it's going to be more difficult for your hairdresser then to blend everything back together. So really try to stick to just across the front, just for the sake of keeping it out of your eyes. And the last tip there is to make sure you cut your bangs when they're dry. Don't cut them when they're wet.
Oh, I always cut my hair when it's wet.
Yes, when it's dry, because when it's wet and you cut it, it will shrink up after it's dry. And again, your bangs end up being shorter than you had anticipated. You can always take more off, but you can't put it back on. Yeah. So better to go dry and little bits at a time.
Okay, that's pretty reasonable. So how can we wear our hair? So we're not going to cut our hair, but we can cut our bangs. So it starts growing out and it starts getting shaggy, and that's, we're still doing Zoom calls, we're still going to meetings. What are some tips that we can do? Because, I mean, I've tried headbands and they either fall off, and I've tried clips and I feel like a teenager when I put those on, and I never know what to do, so I just end up going shaggy. But what are some things that we can do?
Yeah, so there's a lot of hair bands, hair clips, all the things that you mentioned, but it really has a lot to do with your hair and the type of hair you have. So of course, with my hair, headbands, hair bands, these things work wonderful because there's so much of it, and they stay in well. On finer hair, of course, those things tend to slide out a little bit. You want to play with different size. I have some hair bands that I use here. So this is a hair band that I use in my hair that's not just an elastic to hold a ponytail, but it's bigger than that. And so I can just put this on and pull my hair back. And these elastics tend to hold a little better than some of the other headbands that are more plastic, or the elastic holds really well. Also, you have these little jaw clips, we call them,
Yeah.
those little clips, and they come in all different sizes. So again, depending on your hair, if your hair is quite fine, the teeny tiny little ones, you can just pull the very center back, or you want to pull from different points. So from the center straight back, you could put a clip right there. You could take a clip from temple to temple, pull this hair and just take that back. Or you can take from right in front of the ears and pull straight up to the top of the head and put a clip there. So depending on how thick, how much hair you have, you may just need a tiny clip right in the center, a little more hair further back, a little more hair from the ears back. This will help pull that front back if the hair is not long enough to pull up in the back. If your hair is long enough all over, then you can take a hairband and pull the whole thing up into a ponytail, either high at the top of the head or at the nape of the neck. That's a nice sleek look. That is, it's nice for business. Again, you said having Zoom calls and things, you can slick it back and have a more sleek style depending on the length. So there's different things you can do playing with hair bands, hair clips, and scarves. If you have a scarf, you can take it and tie it up the top of the head, and that also will help hold it back.
Okay, so lots of ideas there.
Yeah.
So what about some hair treatments that we can do? Because we're all at home, so this is actually the perfect time to do the facials, hair treatments, and all the things that we never have time to do. So, coming back to our roots, which is Ayurveda, what would you recommend for each dosha?
Yeah, so as you said, this is a really great time for us to turn inward and do some self-care and do some of these things that maybe we hadn't had time to do. And maybe you'll find it's something that you want to keep as part of the return to the new semblance of order. But just like we all have a different constitution, our hair does as well, and it embodies the traits of that dosha. So hair that has more of a vata nature is going to be more dry and brittle. It's going to be more unruly. It's going to be curly often, like this, like my hair. And so with this type of hair, nutrition is really key, of course, across the board. But with this type of hair especially. Vata types often have digestive issues with absorbing nutrients. And so specifically the nutrients that are going to help with bones and teeth, calcium, magnesium, those types of nutrients, really, really great for Vata type hair, because hair is an extension of those systems of the body, the bones, the teeth. And so we want to feed that from the inside. So making sure that you are getting enough of those elements of the magnesium, calcium. So a supplement. And of course, as we always talk about in Ayurveda, is keeping the fire burning, keeping the digestive fire, the Agni, burning strong. So really paying attention to diet. So these are the inward things that you can be doing. From the outside, you want to avoid using a lot of heat products on this type of hair, or heat tools, blow dryers, flat irons, curling irons. Especially again now, because we're not going out, we can let our hair dry naturally. So avoiding heat as much as possible, really important for that type of hair. It just dries it out so much. You want to be very careful about using shampoos with harsh chemicals that are going to strip the oils. You're already struggling to keep oil in this kind of hair, and so harsh chemical shampoos, things are difficult. So be careful with the products that you're using on the hair. Seek out holistic lines of products and products specifically for curly hair. You don't want to shampoo much more than maybe 1 or 2 times a week with this type of hair, which someone with pitta hair is going to say, oh my gosh, I can't go more than a day, right? This type of hair, this curly, more dry, coarse hair, 1 or 2 a week is plenty. And then once a week, you want to give yourself a nice scalp massage and a mask to condition the hair. So you're going to give yourself a gentle massage for a Vata type, right? So just sort of soothing the scalp, but working oil into not so much the hair, you're concerned with getting it on the scalp itself. So a really nice oil is castor oil, deeply nourishing for Vata. Castor oil might be something you have laying around. And if you don't, coconut oil will substitute just fine. But castor oil with some lavender essential oil is a really wonderful, nourishing supplement for your hair.
Okay.
So you would just take some warm oil on your fingertips and put a part in your hair and just run your fingers down the part and then take another part until you get the whole scalp covered. And then a nice gentle massage of the scalp.
Mm-hmm.
Then for the lengths and ends of the hair, you can take, again, some coconut oil, some shea butter, or a really nice holistic mask, and pull that through the ends of your hair and leave that sit for a little while, maybe even put some plastic over it. That's going to really bring some nourishment to Vata type hair and condition it, give it some moisture. And if you'd like to add some Ayurvedic herbs in there, Baringaraj is a really lovely herb. And there are a lot of oils that are made with Baringaraj for Vata type hair. It'd be a really great way of nourishing. So that's Vata. The Pitta types, their hair is going to be more oily. It's going to be quite oily. It may be thinning and it grays a little earlier than the other types of hair. So for Pitta, of course, from the inside out, we want to avoid the Pitta aggravating foods, things that are heating, too much spice, too much peppers, vinegar, alcohol, things like this are going to aggravate thinning hair or hair that falls out a lot or oily hair. Again, avoiding the harsh chemicals in your shampoos. Often people with oily hair are looking for that deep cleansing shampoo that's going to strip all that oil out of their hair. And it'll feel great for a few hours. And then your body's going to kick in and say, oh no, there's no oil left. And it's going to double up and add more oil to the hair. So you want to find, again, a nice pH balanced natural shampoo. pH being between 4.5 and 5.5. That's the balance of your shampoo. And then you want to shampoo maybe every other day. Again, people with oily hair sometimes will say, I can't skip a day of shampooing. If you are that type of person, take a look at some dry shampoos, which are becoming quite popular now. It's a powder that you literally just put on the roots that will sort of mop up some of that extra oil and give some lift and volume to the hair without having to actually wash it. So you might be able to go every other day and still control the oil. And over time, it'll balance out and start to slow down that oil production as the hair gets used to this new holistic way of being. And then for your weekly massage and your weekly mask, coconut or jojoba is very nice. And you can use a little rosemary essential oil that helps with hair loss, which is often a Pitta issue. And amla is a very nice herb as well. So looking for oils. Neem is another really good one for Pitta. So these are oil. You can find oils that are Ayurvedic in nature that have these herbs in them that you can use for your weekly mask. And then last but not least, we have kapha. So the kapha hair types, they're the lucky ones who have the luscious, thick, beautiful locks, often plenty of oil, plenty of moisture, a little more coarse, a little thicker. So this hair type, you're going to want to use more of a light cleansing product. Again, not harsh, but more cleansing to help with any buildup that might be on the hair. And then again, washing daily or every other day, not too often, with a gentle cleansing shampoo. And then a lot of brushing with kapha hair. Brushing. Yes, brushing those locks, right? Those luscious locks of hair. So brushing helps carry some of the oil from the roots and nourish all the way down to the ends. It helps move the oil down the hair. It also helps to sort of thin out hair that might have fallen from the scalp, but is sort of tangled in the thickness of the hair. By brushing and clearing all that out, we're sort of thinning the excess hair out of there. And then kaphas for your weekly massage and mask. You're doing a more stimulating massage. You're getting the scalp stimulated. You're removing excess buildup that's on the scalp. And you're also using coconut or jojoba. And you can put a little bit of juniper essential oil in there. It would be lovely. And then amla is also nice for kapha, and the Baringaraj. That can be used really on all three dosha. But each of the dosha would benefit from a weekly, deeper penetrating feeding, so to speak, from the outside. So these are some of the tips to care for your hair and keep it in really good shape until you can finally get these ends trimmed up and see your hairdresser again.
Okay, well, they're great, Lisa. I want to thank you very much for the tips and tricks that you've given us. I'll be using some of those. So if you start seeing everybody wearing scarves, I'm trying out some of the things that Lisa's talking about. I have Ring Raj already, so I'll be using that.
Great.
So that's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
Lisa, thanks. I appreciate it. And your hair looks lovely, so you're obviously taking good care of it.
Thank you.
So appreciate it. Thanks, love.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you.